My 5 minutes. I get to do it the way I want to do it, under the committee rules and under the House rules. These are my 5 minutes. And as I said, I have not been disrespectful to this witness. I have not. Or
Use up his time to ask his questions, and she can see the answer.
I feel like he did. I feel like he did.
okay. When you were the Attorney General in Florida, after the Parkland shooting, my understanding is you moved to ban gun sales to people under 21. Is that a position that you would take now as the Attorney General? I have a bill, HR 2368, which does something like that. I would be interested in if you'd be willing to co-sponsor or support that bill. You also moved to enact red flag laws, allowing a judge temporarily to confiscate weapons when he or she viewed that the person was at risk of hurting himself or someone else. Is that a position you would continue to support now? And the last one is ghost guns. Ghost guns, I don't think you took a position on it back when you were the AG in Florida, but we've had 2 bills come through here in the Congress, all Democratic co-sponsors. I think.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers, Ranking Member Ming, for having this hearing today. I'd also like to thank the subcommittee staff for their hard work. Attorney General Bondi, thank you for being here today. I commend you for your efforts to prioritize President Trump's America First agenda and commitment to making America safe again. As you know, I represent Alabama's 5th Congressional District, which includes Huntsville and Redstone Arsenal. I'm especially supportive of the FBI Director Patel's plan for the continued movement of FBI personnel to North Alabama. My district has repeatedly answered the call to support our law enforcement agencies with a second-to-none workforce, cutting-edge facilities, and room for growth. Attorney General Bondi, do you support the FBI's plan to move additional personnel and programs to Redstone Arsenal and out of the Beltway?
Thank you, Congressman, for your question. And yes, we are moving 500 additional personnel from DC to Alabama, to Redstone. Redstone is a state-of-the-art facility. It will enhance everything we do, training for FBI, training for other employees, and Huntsville provides the most cost-effective location with a distinct partnership opportunities, and we support all of that that's happening, and I look forward to visiting it one day. Could I have a couple minutes to answer a couple of your fellow congressman's questions? Thank you. He asked me about NIBN, and yet he didn't want to hear my answer. NIBN means National Integrated Ballistics Enforcement Network. I'm very aware of that. We are not cutting that. ATF's receiving $66 million. It's an important program. And I know he would not intentionally attempt to mislead anyone by saying that I'm trying to cut that, but that's not being cut. I'm a career prosecutor. I've used that. I'm sure he's used it as a prosecutor. It's an important program that provides critical support to 7,200 state and local partners we work with. It's a key element to combat violent crime and firearms. So I am a huge supporter of NIBN, and we will continue to do that. You asked me to talk to moms. I will always speak to moms in my office, in any environment. Yes, and I lived the Parkland shooting. I still talk to and meet with all of those families, both Democrat and Republican alike. I will continue to do that as a career prosecutor. Speaking of moms, I'm sure you met with Patty Morrill, Patty Moran. She is the mom of a murdered woman in your district. I'm sure you met with her. I'm sure he met with Tammy Nobles, Kayla Hamilton. That was her daughter who got murdered. So yes, I'm willing to meet with any mom from any side of the aisle. And thank you, Congressman, for letting me discuss
Absolutely.
Would the gentleman yield?
I want to move my questions. In my district, we have the FBI, the ATF, DHS working together to address bombing incidents and use of explosives. The FBI's Hazardous Device School and Terrorist Explosive Device Analytics Center, affectionately known as TDAC. the ATF's National Center for Explosives Training and Research, and the U.S. Bomb Data Center are all located at Redstone Arsenal. As mentioned, ATF's National Center for Explosives and Training Research is a world-class facility located at Redstone. The center provides remarkable training facilities and specializes in life-saving explosives and arsons training. Can you discuss how merging the ATF with the DEA will streamline their activities while ensuring their critical and unique capabilities are maintained?
Yes, absolutely. And yes, the National Center for Explosive Training and Research at Redstone, it's pretty remarkable what they do. They oversee the canine operations, I believe, as well as the criminal profiling, the explosives, the arson investigations, and I look forward to working with you. I look forward to visiting that. I really want to go to that facility. There are no cuts planned for that. And that's where ATF and DEA, again, can partner together. The drugs and the guns go together. Those agents will be working hand in hand. The bureaucracy at the top will be gone. There will be no redundancy. They will be working hand in hand at that facility and many others throughout our country. Thank you.
Mr. Attorney General, I just want to thank you how you represent yourself and you represent this country. It's a hard task what you have to do. You represent Democrats, Republicans, but what you have done in these first 5 months have reestablished the American people's belief in what the DOJ is to do for the American people. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Amen.
7 yields back. Mr. Morelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Ranking Member Meng for holding this important hearing, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for appearing before us today. Madam Attorney General, I serve, in addition to the Appropriations Committee, as a ranking member of the Committee on House Administration. I sent you a letter last week along with my Republican counterpart, Chairman Brian Stile, requesting an increase in federal prosecutory resources to address threats against members of Congress, particularly in light of what happened last week in Minnesota, that tragedy. In 2024, the U.S. Capitol Police identified and received nearly 9,500 concerning statements or threats against members. Federal prosecutors have only secured 8 convictions so far, and the heightened threat environment demands an all-hands-on-deck approach. Will you commit to assigning an assistant U.S. attorney or a special assistant U.S. attorney in each of the 94 federal districts to, at least on a part-time basis, investigate and prosecute threats against members of Congress?
So thank you for bringing that up, and I take that very seriously. Not only what happened in Minnesota was horrible, I've spoken to Keith Ellison, I've spoken to Amy Klobuchar about that. It's horrible. We are involved in that. The FBI was involved. Our U.S. attorneys are involved. Many of these are district to district. So the way we're doing that is, I will tell you, my National Security Division is involved in all of those and assisting in those. We meet every single morning and we discuss that. But many of those, Minnesota, will be handled in the state in which it happened. Another one is
So, may
Governor. I'm sorry if I can keep going. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I don't mean
Quickly,
to.
though.
I filibuster. Governor Shapiro and what happened in Pennsylvania with Governor Shapiro. I've spoken to Governor Shapiro. We are working hand in hand, our U.S. attorney with the district attorney there, hand in hand, just like in Minnesota. I made sure our U.S. attorney and our district attorneys there were working hand in hand. Political party doesn't matter when something like this happens. And I also want to make sure all members of Congress are safe as well.
Okay, and I would reiterate, Chairman Stile and I think Chairman Stile and I agree that at least a part-time in each of the 94 districts would be appropriate. Let me change topics for just a moment. I'm
Really
sorry.
quick on that. Yes, we're doing that through our National Security Division, so I think that's already in the works, and I would be glad to meet with you in a secure facility to talk about that.
Very good, thank you. Continuing, in addition to my role here, the committee that I serve on as an authorizer oversees Capitol security as well as federal elections, so I'm closely following the aftermath of January 6th. Recently, several defendants who received presidential pardons related to that day are now arguing in court that the pardon covers crimes like, for instance, illegal firearm possession discovered in a search of an individual's home in California months after January 6th. What's your position on whether the pardons cover these separate offenses?
The pardon power rests with the president, not the Department of Justice, and some of that is pending litigation, and I cannot discuss pending litigation.
Well, I'm not asking you about who has the right to a pardon. I think as the Department of Justice in February wrote, the pardon is an act of grace which removes the punishment from a crime a person has committed. It further said, in its effect, the granting of a pardon is in no sense the overturning of a judgment of conviction. It is an executive action that mitigates or sets aside punishment. So as the chief law enforcement officer, what's your opinion, not the president's power of whether he can offer a pardon? That's pretty clear in the Constitution. But for crimes committed unrelated to January 6th, would you suggest that the pardons would cover activities or crimes potentially committed outside of that by the same person?
Well, I don't know if you're referring to Joe Biden pardoning his son after he said he would not pardon Hunter Biden, or the
No, I actually
commutation
referred
of
to
all
January
the
6th. I'm
all
sorry.
the sentences that
Well,
the people that were on death row. I've met with those families,
No,
and
I-
all of those sentences were commuted. I'm not going to comment on pardons on either side of the aisle.
So, well, I'm not asking about either side. I'm asking, you're the chief law enforcement officer in the United States. You have a responsibility directly, but you swore an oath to the Constitution, not the president. Want to know what your views are on the extent to which pardons cover potential crimes committed by individuals who've been pardoned but unrelated to January 6th.
Do you mean the ones that were done by the auto pen? I'm not going to
All
discuss
right.
anything that
Mr.
could
Chairman,
be or not be
I
pending litigation.
respectfully, Ms. DeLauro accused you of filibustering. I think that's the height of filibustering. This is a serious, serious topic. And for you to suggest that you don't have an opinion or to divert to other things that have nothing to do with January 6 pardons, I think is frankly demeaning to your responsibilities and your job. With that, I'll yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General, thank you for being here today. When I am home in my district talking to my constituents, they are concerned about their safety. They are concerned about the safety of their communities, the safety of their neighborhoods. And as we have spoken many times under your leadership, the DOJ has taken decisive steps to restore the rule of law, to tackle violent crime, and to hold both foreign and domestic bad actors accountable. I read your opening statement. And I just wanted to give you an opportunity to go back again and talk about, in light of 4 years of open borders, the drugs that are coming in, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking, the gangs that have moved in, the terrorism that has infiltrated the United States, the sleeper cells that may or may not be present in this country, the political prosecutions that we saw over the 4 years of the Biden administration, the fact that we are restoring integrity to the office and the rule of law. Can you restate for my constituents how the actions of the Department of Justice and your agencies are keeping them safe?
Thank you, Congressman. And we have also been working hand in hand on a task force with your governor, with Governor Youngkin. And we started a task force with Governor Youngkin, and that's something that we would like to take to every single state, both Democrat and Republican. And that's how we've been able to fight these gangs, these transnational cartels, these organizations, these criminal organizations. And it was really remarkable. One of the top members of TDA was living 20 minutes from where we're sitting right now in Virginia, and working hand in hand, regardless of political party, with state and local law enforcement officers throughout the state of Virginia. We were able to dismantle a major gang, and there are so many gang members, and he was another one who was living there. I think when he was arrested, he had multiple, and ATF was involved in that, multiple guns when he was arrested, but he did not have any of the drugs on him. He had insulated himself because he was one of the leaders of the criminal organization. And so these task force working together with the state of Virginia have been remarkable. So that's one way to break it down, what we've done. And we're just so proud of the partnership that we've had with your state, dismantling the gangs, the guns, the drugs, and we'll continue to do that.
And when you have that partnership, you can get a lot done.
You can get so much done.
Secure a safer community for the people living there. When you have sanctuary states like California and who are preventing you from actually getting in there and actually getting the gangs off the streets, getting the drugs and the human trafficking off the streets, that hurts the people of those states. You know, when the streets of Los Angeles descended into scenes more fitting of a failed state than a major American city, mobs setting fire to police cruisers and looting entire city blocks, videos online showing American flags being burned and the flags of foreign nations being flown, some carried by rioters proudly waving them through smoke-filled streets. The Department of Homeland Security has revealed new data saying that ICE law enforcement is now facing a 500% increase in assaults while carrying out enforcement operations. Can you describe what actions you've taken to hold these sanctuary jurisdictions accountable? And I have a couple questions after that.
Yeah, thank you. To California specifically, and we have made it very clear. If you spit, I believe it was an ICE officer, someone spit on him, we charge them federally. We will charge you if you spit on a law enforcement officer. If you loot under the Hobbs Act, that is a robbery, and we will charge you with robbery. We are going after the maximum penalty federally for anyone who touches a federal agent, and we are also going to protect our state and local law enforcement agencies and officers. The men and women every day around this country, whether it's a blue or red or purple state, are out there fighting crime. That's what they care about. They care about keeping every single one of us safe. That's what they're doing. They care about preventing drug abuse, drug overdoses throughout this country. And they jeopardize their lives every single day to keep us safe. And we are going to do everything in our power to fight for them.
Do you think that these sanctuary jurisdictions, these cities or states, should be receiving law enforcement grants if they refuse to uphold the law?
That's pending litigation, Congressman, and I can't discuss that right now.
I think the answer should be no, but I'll leave that to the judges and to this committee to decide. Thank you.
Time of the gentleman has expired. Mrs. Dean.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you, Ranking Member. Thank you, and welcome Attorney General Bondi. I just wonder, sincerely wonder, do you hear how hollow your last words sound in light of the pardon of all of the January 6th people, day one of this administration? I believe you're sincere. You want to protect law enforcement, but your principal, the president, pardoned every single one on January 6th. It rings hollow when you say these words, that if you spit on a police officer, we're going to go after you. Talk to my friends who are Capitol Police officers who were here, 5 of whom are no longer here. They are dead. And this administration, and I guess I want to ask you, did you have any advice for the president when he came forward with the blanket pardon on January 20th? What advice did you offer the president?
I am never going to talk about conversations, advice
you
in
asked
any
for-
way.
were you asked
I'm
for
never
advice?
going to talk about discussions I've had or
Because
have
you'll-
not had.
you'll
If I
remember-
can answer with the President of the
Yes or
United
no?
States.
Did you give him any advice, yes or no?
I am not going to discuss any conversations
That's a
that
no.
I have had with it. You
And
just put
your
words in
own
my
word-
mouth. I
but-
am not going to
No, I'm
discuss.
going to reveal your own words.
I am
Just a
not
moment.
going to
Please stop.
discuss
Please stop. This is
conversations
my
that I've
time.
had with the President of the United States.
Attorney
You asked me a
General,
question.
I would like to reclaim
and
the
you
last
asked
20
me to
seconds.
answer.
I have asked to reclaim my time. Please put 20 seconds back on the clock.
You have an extra 30.
If the general,
She answered, and then answered it again, and answered it again, with a non-answer. I ask for your consideration
if the
of putting time
gentlelady
on.
will let the
30
witness
seconds
answer the
extra to begin
questions,
with.
we will
She
proceed.
answered it by saying no. Okay. The 3 hallmarks of this administration are incompetence, corruption, and cruelty. I'm going to focus today on corruption. And in my mind, there are 2 types of corruption: personal, and then the other I'm going to call public, governmental. Attorney General, have you ever been registered as an agent of a foreign principal under the Foreign Agents Registration Act?
I assume you're talking about when I represented the country of Qatar for a very short time.
answer
Hold
is
on.
no,
Hold
excuse
on.
me.
No.
No.
For anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. anti-human trafficking
or
for the
no?
World Cup.
Attorney
You can't
General-
put words in my mouth.
No.
You want to talk about incompetence? You're the one that
Excuse
said
me.
Joe Biden on PBS was competent. You had to retract those words. So
Mr.
don't
Chairman.
talk to me. Don't insult me publicly.
This is so discourteous. This is so outside the committee's guidelines. Taking a personal shot at me while swiping at Biden, very strange and very unprofessional of you. The answer is yes or no, and the answer is yes. You were registered as a lobbyist for Qatar. Is that correct? Yes. Never mind, don't answer. Did you disclose that when you went before for the Senate for confirmation? Yes or no? No, it was not in your documents. The answer is no. President Trump,
This was discussed at my confirmation hearings in detail.
it was discussed, but you failed to bring up the conflict that you had. President Trump recently announced he'd accept that $400 million Qatar airplane because it was just prettier than the one he was flying around in. Is it true that you gave advice that this was legally permissible? Yes or no?
I will not discuss any advice that my Office of Legal Counsel gives to the President of the United States on any matter.
When you spoke before the Senate, you said you would ask for ethical advice. Did you recuse yourself from that issue?
And talking about unprofessional, you say the President wanted a jet because it's pretty?
Excuse
Come
me.
on, this is a Senate, this is
He
a
said it himself.
congressional hearing.
He said it himself. Let me go to April the 2nd. You're a part of this, the president has dabbled in meme coin. He had the DOJ disband the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. His son recently launched the Executive Branch Club, a private club with $500,000 memberships here in D.C. Any of this seem like it might be a problem, might be profiteering from the office, and maybe you and your ethics team might be concerned about these conflicts of interest, your own and the president and his family? Yes or no? Any concerns?
What I would be concerned about in Pennsylvania are all the child sex cases that we've prosecuted, all the CSAM cases that we've prosecuted
Did you hear
in
my question?
Pennsylvania.
I
That's
asked
what
the
I would
witness
be
to
concerned
actually
about.
answer questions that are asked.
Congresswoman Dean.
Chairman,
Please let the witness answer the question.
she didn't. And I would like to ask you one more question. You're not just complicit in this, you're actively helping and profiting. Isn't it true that on April the 2nd, the same day that Trump announced his chaotic tariff regime that plummeted the stock market, you sold more than $1 million worth of your shares in Trump Media stock? Trump Media stock fell 13% in the following days. Seems you avoided that loss. Well done. I yield back.
May I answer that, Chairman? I complied with my ethics, and yeah, I would take a class in financial literacy if you think I profited from that, because I lost a tremendous amount of money. Congresswoman, and also on page 25 of my SJ2, it lists my involvement with Qatar for anti-human trafficking for the World Cup. Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding the hearing. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here. You just mentioned this previously, and obviously, as you're aware, about the recently uncovered information about the FBI's egregious, politically motivated anti-Catholic field memo, which was disseminated to more than 1,000 employees. The Biden administration claimed that this memo only was circulated at the Richmond field office. It's now clear that this memo went much beyond just that one field office. This was a memo that suggested that Catholics, based on their theological beliefs and practices, were radical and that their traditional parishes were vectors for extremism. The FBI went so far as to infiltrate and spy on Sunday masses. So, Attorney General Bondi, I'm grateful for your efforts to combat anti-Christian bias, including the task force you recently stood up. It's clear from both the original leaked memo and the additional documentation that has been released that extremist Southern Poverty Law Center was the basis for this anti-Catholic bigotry coming from the FBI. Will you commit to not use the Southern Poverty Law Center to determine who is a hate group?
Committed to working with you on that, Congressman, and thank you for bringing that up about, yeah, that was horrible what happened to Catholics and that memo. It didn't just happen to Catholics, of course, it happened to parents at school boards. It happened to people who were peacefully protesting at abortion clinics. That's the end of weaponization under the Trump administration.
Well, thank you for that, Attorney General Bondi. What additional resources can this committee provide to further execute your efforts to eradicate anti-Christian bias in the federal government?
Yeah, we're committed to working with you. Our Civil Rights Division, led by Harmeet Dillon, is doing an incredible job working on those issues and many more. Our Civil Rights Division, I met with her this morning. I talk to them almost daily, and they are working to protect people of all religions. And, you know, especially now, I'm actually surprised that hasn't come up yet this morning, but in light of everything happening with Israel, all of the anti-Semitic things that have been happening around our country. I went to the crime scene here in D.C. of 2 young people who were leaving a Jewish museum and were gunned down simply because of their religion. It was horrific. It was horrific. And then in Boulder, Colorado, when a Holocaust survivor was firebombed, lit on fire because she was Jewish. And so it's not only Catholics, it's every religion. And even mosques that were slow-walked under the Biden administration and not allowed to open. We will protect every religion in this country.
Well, thank you for your commitment to that, and I truly appreciate it, and I think everybody of faith in the United States appreciates that. And I just want to switch gears real quick to just another topic. In 2022, the D.C. Metropolitan Police recovered the remains of 5 unborn children, apparently from a D.C. abortion mill, which appeared to be the victims, these 5 remains that were found, victims of a brutal partial birth abortions. As you know, Congress passed a bipartisan law outlawing this gruesome practice in the early 2000s. Public reporting suggests that the President Biden's DOJ directed the D.C. Chief Medical Examiner to destroy the remains of the children without performing an autopsy, which the CME appears not to have done yet. General Bondi, will you commit to working with me and this committee to conduct a full and fair investigation into the deaths of these children to ensure justice is served for the DC-5?
Yeah, and Congressman, that is a ongoing investigation and pending, so I cannot discuss that in this forum. But on a collateral matter, the woman who retrieved those 5 fetuses was convicted, and she was pardoned by President Trump. And they were basically unborn babies, is what is alleged in the, but I can't discuss it any further.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Attorney General Bondi. I yield back.
Mr. Mervin.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member. Attorney General, thank you for joining us today. Our law enforcement officers, first responders, and local safety agencies are the backbone of our communities. In Northwest Indiana, I've worked hard to bring critical federal grant dollars home, funds that directly support the brave men and women who protect us every day. Unfortunately, funding for 2025 has been rescinded, weakening our public safety framework and making our neighborhoods less safe. I firsthand have a positive impact in securing dollars and investments for Gary, Indiana, East Chicago, Lake County, and Michigan City that were force multipliers that were technology such as license plate readers and the COPS grant. I'm asking you today, what can we do to ensure that those funds are going to continue to flow to my district? And in light of the HIDA, I'm in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana. We are a HIDA district where we have the Chicago traffic. That's vitally important to my district. I just need commitments that that funding will continue to be going forward and that our agencies will have that support.
Congressman, thank you for bringing that up. I'm well aware of the HIDA. I believe that's in Maryville, is that correct?
You are correct.
And yes, that funding will remain where it is. We do not intend on touching that funding. We want to protect HIDA.
Very good. So in light of the escalation with Iran, part of our cybersecurity and our infrastructure when it comes to our electric grid, our banking systems, that is a new threat. Does this budget reflect increasing our cybersecurity protections, and how is the Department of Justice going to protect our infrastructure when it comes to bad actors such as Iran coming directly at our infrastructure in a cyber attack?
Yeah, we have $50 million for cybersecurity, and also in the one big.
With an M, 50 million?
50 million, yeah,
Okay.
but also in the one big beautiful bill, it is also addressed to give us more resources. And you know, it's not only
Can I
Iran,
ask-
as you well know, it's China as well. But
Right.
yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
In the
Congressman.
reconciliation, tomato, in the reconciliation bill, can you tell me what more resources are going to go towards cybersecurity? Because I was under the impression that was decreased.
Can I get you, I will get you those numbers.
Okay. Yes.
I want to do everything I can to help you protect cybersecurity, all of us in this country, not only again with Iran, but also with China and all of our foreign adversaries around the world.
Okay. And then just a question of curiosity that I have. Director Patel was here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the emails that went to the FBI agents, meaning, please tell us what you did at the end of the week. Give us 5 reasons why you did. At first, Director Patel said that that didn't exist. Then he specifically said, well, that came from the Department of Justice to the FBI agents, and his words, I told them not to fulfill that obligation. How do you manage that if you give a directive to your director of FBI and he chooses not to fulfill that? And where did that information go? So when someone from the FBI, an agent, fulfilled that obligation of giving you the information of what they were working on, where did that data go and how is it secured?
Yeah, and Congressman, I'd be happy to see who answered that, but I asked, when I learned about it, I asked that it be withdrawn, and it was, that email.
When you learned about the email going to the FBI agents, you asked them to withdraw it. Who did you ask to have it withdrawn?
My entire office, and it was.
So it is unknown who sent that email?
Well, it came from my office, but when I learned it went to the FBI, we asked that it be withdrawn.
Where is the gap of my understanding? If it came from your office, you're telling me you didn't send it?
I didn't realize it went to the FBI. That email went out.
So-
And the purpose of that email was to make sure, just so you know, it was to make sure that these people were sitting at their desk and working and alive, that there were people actually
Okay, and
responding.
I agree.
It could have been, I got up and got a cup of coffee.
Sure.
That
So
was
without
the
going into
purpose.
that, the people that did answer it, where did that data go?
I will find out and I will get you that information.
And I only ask as a national security issue as
Absolutely.
they're working on sensitive issues. And I thank you for joining us, and I yield back my time.
Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. That concludes today's hearing. I want to thank our witness, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. We would normally like to do another round of questions, but we don't have time. The gentlelady, the Attorney General, has meetings scheduled, I think, at 4 o'clock. So we will not be able to do a second round because of that. So without objection, members may have 7 days to submit additional questions for the record. Subcommittee stands adjourned.